I want to talk about the free speech czar, Emma.
Yeah.
So free speech is something that we absolutely uphold here at GB News. It is in our DNA. And I'm delighted to say that the university's organisation, what are they called? The Office for Students. Office for Students, thank you. Have appointed a free speech director.
Yeah.
Feels about time, but is he political?
So, no, he says he's politically neutral. This is Professor Arif Ahmed. He comes from Cambridge. He says he's politically neutral. He doesn't want to get involved in the culture wars. He's launching his mission today at King's College with a speech all about how being offended, jokes, satire, being challenged, having views that you don't agree with, shock horror, are part of the educational experience. He wants to defend the rights of academics, students, visiting speakers to speak. We've seen lots of no platforming. We've seen loads of kind of issues around people, so the trans issue, for example, on university campuses. And Professor Ahmed is saying he's politically neutral, and he's saying he says we will be equally vigorous in defending free speech rights of students, academics and speakers, and that he has no interest in the culture wars.
Yeah, this is good news, Mike.
Well, it's really good news, and it's come out of the blue. You know, I didn't know this guy was going to be appointed.
Who is this guy?
And I'm thinking, wow, we're pushing back against those cancel culture. The best line is, he says, I understand the chilling effect of groupthink. So he's really getting into the idea that 14 people sending out Twitter messages could close down, you know, a speaker at a university because they personally feel offended.
Yeah, and what's really interesting in this article in the Times is that Britain has fallen significantly down the rankings. There are rankings for academic freedom. We are dropping way down because of this terrified cancel culture, this no platforming culture. And he wants to reverse that.
That's right. I read another piece, you know, a couple of weeks ago, which I could barely believe, but it says that kids growing up now in teenage years, a certain percentage of them have never been told how to assess an argument from somebody else which is directly opposed to theirs. Some kids and teenagers don't think it's right for anybody to have a view which is contrary to their own.
It was the boss of Channel 4, I can't remember her name, but she was talking at a television conference only a couple of weeks ago, and she said the problem with the young people that she's trying to employ at Channel 4 is that they believe that they can't work with people whose opinions aren't the same as theirs.
Absolutely, yeah.
Now, why has that happened? That's happened because of a perpetually offended generation who think they have a right to say, you can't say that.
And I'll tell you what's really alarming. My 3-year-old told me the other day, when I told him to put his socks on, he said, I have rights. And he started listening. And this is a song.
Welcome to the world of education.
They have taught him at nursery, we have rights. I don't know how it goes. And then it lists your rights. And all of them, I accept that he has those rights to something about a warm home and a food and a this and a that and education and da-da-da-da-da. But I just found it really odd that 3-year-olds are being told, you have rights, you can say no, there's da-da-da.
Yes, well, my children's primary school also had this thing on the wall saying things like, you have a right to be heard. And I was saying to my kids, not always. Exactly. Not always, actually. Sometimes as a child
is in charge.
You don't have a right to be heard. That's one of the points about being an adult, is when you're an adult, you can have your voice heard, but as a child, sometimes you have to just shut up and do it. Do what you're told.
Our new Director of Free Speech says freedom of speech and academic freedom are fundamental to higher education. Isn't that one of the basic rights that we all grew up with? Why does that have to be explained?
What is education if it's not to hear opposing views and to make up your mind based on opinions and facts and hearing from other people?
Well, I'm glad there's a good news story on free speech.